The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and Tahoe saw Selveth for the first time. 2 suns hung in the sky, one gold and one silver. Their light fell on a world of impossible beauty. Crystal towers rose from purple forests, catching the double sunlight and scattering it into rainbows. Rivers of clear water wound between cities that looked like they were grown rather than built. Everything was elegant and ancient and cold. Yaram stood next to him at the viewing window, Hajun sleeping in her arms. "Home," she said softly. But her voice was not happy. It was sad and afraid. "Are you ready?" Tahoe asked. "No, but I will do it anyway." The ship landed on a platform of white stone. Guards in silver armor waited to escort them. The air smelled like flowers Tahoe had never seen, sweet and strange. They walked through the crystal city. Selvani people stopped to stare. Some pointed. Some whispered. Some turned away in disgust. A human on their sacred world. A hybrid child in a Selvani woman's arms. It was scandal and miracle and horror all at once. The Great Council Hall was the largest building Tahoe had ever seen. Its walls were made of crystal so clear he could see through them to the purple sky beyond. Inside, the hall was filled with thousands of Selvani, all watching from elevated seats. At the far end sat the High Council. 7 elder Selvani in robes of white and silver. Their faces were ancient, their eyes heavy with the weight of 1,000,000 years of tradition. In the center sat High Elder Nari. She was older than anyone Tahoe had ever seen. Her blue skin pale almost to white, her silver eyes deep and dark. She looked at the small family walking toward her with an expression that gave nothing away. "Yaram of House Mira," her voice rang through the hall. "You have been called before this council to answer for your actions. You have violated the sacred laws of biological purity. You have produced a child with an alien species. You have brought shame upon your people." Yaram stood straight. She did not look away from the High Elder's eyes. "I have done what every mother does," she said clearly. "I have loved my child. I have protected my child. I have given my child life." Whispers ran through the crowd. High Elder Nari raised her hand for silence. "The laws are clear. For 1,000,000 years, the Selvani have maintained our genetic purity. We do not mix with other species. We do not dilute our heritage. This has kept us strong. This has kept us united." "And lonely," Yaram said. "And afraid. And dying." The whispers grew louder. High Elder Nari's eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself." Yaram stepped forward. "Our birth rate has been declining for 10,000 years. Every generation, fewer children are born. Every generation, more of our people choose to remain alone rather than form bonds. We are so focused on purity that we have forgotten how to live." She held up Hajun, showing him to the council. The baby was awake now, his silver eyes looking around at the vast hall with curiosity. "Look at him. Look at my son. He is healthy. He is strong. He is alive. Your science said he could not exist, but here he is. Maybe your science was wrong. Maybe the universe is bigger than your laws allow." One of the council members, an older woman with dark blue skin, leaned forward. "You speak of the universe being bigger. But what about our identity? If we can breed with other species, what makes us Selvani anymore?" "What makes you Selvani is not your blood," Yaram answered. "It is your culture, your history, your wisdom. My son will know the star songs of Selveth. He will learn the meditation arts. He will speak the old language. He will carry our traditions forward, along with the traditions of his father's people." She looked at the older council member directly. "He will be a bridge, Mother, not a wall." Tahoe realized with shock that this was Yaram's mother, Elder Hannah, the woman who had not spoken to her daughter in years. the woman who had called Yaram a disgrace for leaving Selveth. Elder Hannah's face was tight with emotion. She did not speak. High Elder Nari turned to Teho. And you, human, what do you have to say? Why should we trust our daughter to your kind? Teho stepped forward. He was just a rancher from a dusty colony, standing before beings who had built civilizations when humans were still living in caves. But his voice was steady. I am a simple man. I do not understand your laws. I do not know your history. I only know two things. He looked at Yaram, then at Hajun, then at the council. First, I love my wife and my son more than anything in the universe. There is nothing I would not do to protect them. Nothing I would not sacrifice. Nothing I would not face. He took a deep breath. Second, where I come from, family is everything. You do not abandon family. You do not turn away from family. You do not let laws or traditions or fear destroy family. You fight for the people you love, even when the fight seems impossible. He spread his scarred hands, showing them to the council. I got these scars pulling Yaram from a fire. I would get them again 1,000 times. I would walk through 1,000 storms. Because that is what love does. It does not give up. It does not follow rules. It finds a way. The hall was silent. Every Selvani was watching. Waiting. High Elder Nari looked at the small family for a long moment. Then she turned to the council. We will vote. What is your judgment? One by one, the council members spoke. Some voted to exile Yaram and declare the child an abomination. Some voted to allow her to stay, but take the child for study. The votes were tied, 3 against 3. The final vote belonged to Elder Hannah. She rose slowly from her seat. Her silver eyes were full of tears. She looked at her daughter, at the grandchild she had never expected to have, at the human man who had given up everything for her family. For years, I told myself that tradition was more important than love, she said, her voice breaking. I told myself that purity was more important than happiness. I let my daughter go, and I lost a part of myself. She stepped down from her seat and walked toward Yaram. The crowd gasped. Council members did not leave their seats during a judgment. Elder Hannah stopped in front of her daughter. She reached out and touched Ajun's face with trembling fingers. He has your eyes, she whispered. My eyes, our family's eyes. Then she turned to face the High Elder. I vote to grant my daughter a new status. Not exile. Not disgrace. Let her be called Bridge, a Selvani who walks between worlds. Let her son be recognized as the first child of two peoples. Let this be the beginning of something new, not the end of something old. High Elder Nari was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly she nodded. The vote is 4-3. Yaram of House Myra is granted the status of Bridge. Her son is recognized as a citizen of both Selveth and the human colonies. This judgment is final. The hall erupted in noise. Some cheered. Some protested. Some sat in stunned silence. But the decision was made. Yaram fell into her mother's arms, crying tears of joy. Elder Hannah held her tight, whispering words of love and apology. Teho watched them, his heart full. They returned to Dust 7 1 month later. The colony welcomed them as heroes. Scientists came to study Hajun, but now they came with respect, with permission, with boundaries. The impossible child became a symbol of hope, proof that the universe was bigger than anyone had imagined. Years passed. Hajun grew tall and strong, with his father's determination and his mother's grace. He had silver eyes that saw far and scarred hands from working the ranch. He spoke 2 languages, knew the songs of 2 worlds, carried the hopes of 2 species. One evening, when Hajun was 7 years old, he rode across the dusty plains with his father. The double moons of Dust 7 were rising and the stars were coming out one by one. Father, Hajun asked, what is out there? In the stars? Tejo looked up at the endless sky. He thought about the crystal towers of Selveth, the council halls, and purple forests. He thought about his little ranch and his cattle and the woman waiting for them at home. He thought about all the impossible things that had become real. Everything, he said with a smile. Everything is out there, Hajun. Worlds we have never seen. People we have never met. Miracles we have never imagined. He put his arm around his son's shoulders, and someday you will help us find them. Ha-Jun looked up at the stars with his silver eyes, and he smiled. The child who should never have existed was alive and healthy and full of dreams. The bridge between two worlds was just beginning to cross, and in the vastness of the galaxy, the impossible kept becoming possible, one miracle at a time. The storm screamed outside. The walls of the small house shook with every gust of wind. Dust found its way through every crack, turning the air thick and brown. But Tejo could not think about the storm. He could only think about Yerim. She lay on the bed, her pale blue face covered in sweat. Her silver eyes were wild with pain and fear. She gripped his scarred hand so hard, he thought his bones might break. "I cannot do this," she gasped between contractions. "It hurts too much. You can." Tejo wiped her forehead with a cool cloth. "You are the strongest person I know. You can do anything." He had managed to get through to Dr. Beak on the old radio. Her voice crackled through the static, calm and steady. "Listen to me, Tejo. I am going to guide you through this. Do exactly what I say. I am listening." "Good. Now, how far apart are the contractions?" He told her. She asked more questions. He answered as best he could. Outside, the wind howled like a wounded animal. Inside, Yerim cried out with each wave of pain. The hours passed slowly. Tejo lost track of time. There was only Yerim's face, Yerim's voice, Yerim's hand in his. There was only the radio crackling with Dr. Beak's instructions. There was only the impossible thing happening right in front of him. "I can see the head," he said finally, his voice shaking. "Good. That is very good. Now, on the next contraction, I need her to push hard. As hard as she can." Yerim screamed and pushed. Her whole body tensed. Tejo saw the baby's head emerge, small and round, covered in fluid. "One more push," Dr. Beak said. "One more and it will be over." Yerim gathered all her strength. She screamed one last time, a sound that mixed with the howling of the storm. And then, suddenly, the baby was in Tejo's hands. It was small and wet and perfect. Dark hair like his father. Silver eyes like his mother. Blue-tinted skin that was somewhere between human pink and Selvani blue. The baby opened its mouth and cried. Tejo felt tears running down his face. He did not try to stop them. "It is a boy," he said to Yerim. "We have a son." She reached for the baby with trembling arms. He placed their child on her chest. She looked down at the small face, the tiny fingers, the miracle that should not exist. "Ha-Jun," she whispered. Kang Ha-Jun. The name meant great and talented in the old Korean language. It was the name Tejo's grandfather had wanted for his own children but never used. Now it belonged to this impossible child. This bridge between two worlds. Dr. Beak's voice came through the radio again. "Is the baby breathing? Is the mother stable?" "Yes, both of them." Tejo could barely speak through his tears. "They're both perfect." "Then you did it. You delivered your own son in a dust storm." Not many men can say that. Outside, the storm began to fade. The wind grew quieter. The dust settled. By morning, the sky was clear again, and 3 people lay together in the small house, a family that had been called impossible. They stayed in the canyon for 2 more weeks. Yerim needed time to recover. Hajun needed time to grow stronger. Tejo needed time to accept that this was real, that he was a father again, that life had given him a second chance. But they could not hide forever. Old Man Cho returned on the 10th day. He was thin and tired, but his eyes were defiant. "They questioned me for a week," he said. "I told them nothing." "Thank you," Yerim said. "For everything." The old man looked at Ha Jun sleeping in his mother's arms. His hard face softened. "He is beautiful. He looks like both of you." He shook his head slowly. "The galaxy needs to see this child. Not as a specimen, but as proof that love can create miracles." Tae-hao knew he was right. Hiding was not a life. Not for them, not for their son. Ha-jun deserved to grow up in the light, not in shadows. He made his decision. "I will go to the colony," he said. "I will talk to them. Make them understand. They will arrest you," Yerim said. "Maybe, but I have to try." He kissed her forehead gently. "Our son needs a real home, a real future. I will find a way to give him that." He walked out of the canyon the next morning, carrying only water and a radio. It took him 3 days to reach the colony on foot. His legs ached. His throat was dry. His heart was full of hope and fear in equal measure. Governor Yoon met him at the edge of town. The man looked older than before, worn down by the pressure of the past months. "You came back," the governor said. "I have a proposal." Tae-hao stood straight, trying to look more confident than he felt. "My wife and son will come out of hiding. You can study the child through observation, through regular checkups, through whatever you need. But not through imprisonment. Not through taking him away from his family. The Sylvani will not accept that. Then let me talk to them. Let me show them my son. Let them see that he is not a monster or an anomaly. He is just a baby who laughs and cries and sleeps in his mother's arms." The governor was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Commander Vila has been waiting for you. She agreed to one meeting before taking any action. I think she is curious." The meeting happened that afternoon in the governor's office. Commander Vela sat on one side of the table, cold and elegant in her silver uniform. Tae-hao sat on the other side, dusty and tired, a rancher facing a warrior. "You are either very brave or very foolish," Commander Vela said. "I am just a father," Tae-hao replied. "Everything I do for my family. Your family violates every law of nature, every law of Sylvani biology. Laws can be wrong. Science can be incomplete. Just because something has never happened does not mean it cannot happen." Commander Vila leaned forward. "Do you understand what your child represents? If Sylvani can reproduce with humans, then everything we believed about ourselves is false. Our identity as a species is threatened. Or expanded," Tae-hao said quietly. "Your people have been alone in the galaxy for 1,000,000 years. Always separate. Always pure. Maybe that is why you are so sad." Commander Vela's silver eyes flashed with anger. "You know nothing about my people. I know your wife. I know she spent years feeling lonely among humans, but she spent her whole life feeling lonely among Sylvani. Maybe the problem is not other species. Maybe the problem is walls that should never have been built." The room was silent. Commander Vela's face was unreadable. "Bring me your son," she said finally. "Let me see this impossible child." Yerim came to the colony the next day, carried in Old Man Cho's vehicle with Ha-jun wrapped in soft blankets. The colonists came out to watch. Some looked afraid. Some looked amazed. Some looked hopeful. Commander Vela stood in the town square, surrounded by her guards. Yerim walked toward her, holding Ha-jun close. The baby was awake. His silver eyes looked around at all the faces. When Commander Vela leaned down to see him, Ha-jun smiled and reached out his tiny hand. His small blue fingers wrapped around Commander Vela's finger. The cold warrior stared at the baby. Something in her hard expression cracked. Her eyes grew wet. "He is warm," she whispered. "He feels like life." "He is life," Yaram said. "My life, my husband's life. Our future." Commander Vila straightened up. She was silent for a long moment, looking at the child, looking at the parents who had risked everything for him. "The High Council demands a judgment," she said finally. "You must return to Selvith and present your son before them. If you refuse, you will be exiled forever, cut off from your people entirely." Yaram did not hesitate. "Then I will go. I will face them. I will show them what love can create. And I will go with her," Tejo said. "Wherever she goes, I go. Wherever our son goes, we go together." Commander Vila nodded slowly. Something like respect flickered in her eyes. "Then prepare yourselves. We leave for Selvith in 3 days. You will face the judgment of your people, Yaram of House Myra, and the galaxy will be watching." 6 months had passed since they fled into the wastelands. 6 months of dust and wind and endless brown plains. 6 months of hiding from the ships that sometimes crossed the sky, searching. Yaram's belly was large now. The baby moved inside her, kicking and turning. Every time she felt it, she smiled and put her hand on her stomach. Every time Tejo saw her smile, his heart grew stronger. Old Man Cho had found them in their 2nd week. He appeared out of the dust like a ghost, riding an old vehicle held together with wire and hope. He was 60 years old, with a face like leather and eyes that had seen too much. "You are the ones everyone is looking for," he said. It was not a question. Tejo's hand moved toward his weapon. "We do not want trouble." Old Man Cho laughed. It was a dry sound, like sand moving over rocks. "Trouble is all I have left. Come with me. I have a place where they will not find you." His place was deep in the canyons, hidden among the red rocks. A small house built into the cliff face, invisible from above. He had lived there for 15 years, away from people and their problems. He had a small herd of cattle and a garden that grew in the shelter of the rocks. "Why help us?" Yaram asked on their first night there. Old Man Cho looked at her with his tired eyes. "Because I had a wife once. She was different from me too. Not alien, but different. The world did not understand us. We ran away together, just like you." "What happened to her?" "She died. A long time ago. But we had 20 good years first. 20 years of love and peace and happiness." He looked at Yaram's swollen belly. "Every child deserves a chance at life, even the impossible ones." The days passed slowly in the canyon. Tejo helped Old Man Cho with the cattle. He fixed fences and carried water and did all the hard work his scarred hands could manage. The scars had healed white and tight, but he could still grip a tool, still do what needed to be done. Yaram rested as much as she could. The pregnancy was difficult for her body. Selvani women were not made to carry hybrid children. Her back hurt. Her feet swelled. She was tired all the time, but she was happy. In the evenings, they sat together outside the little house and watched the stars appear. Tejo would put his hand on her belly and feel their child move. Yaram would teach him Selvani words and sing him star songs from her homeworld. Her voice was beautiful, soft, and clear, rising into the night air like smoke. "Tell me about Selvith," he would say. "Tell me about your home." She told him about the crystal towers that caught the light of 2 suns, about the purple forests where ancient trees sang in the wind, about the great libraries that held the knowledge of 1,000,000 years, about the strict councils and the rigid laws and the cold beauty of a world that never changed. "I was not happy there," she admitted one night. "I was always different. I wanted to see the galaxy, to meet other species, to learn new things. My family did not understand. They said I was throwing away my heritage. Do you miss them?" She was quiet for a moment. "I miss my mother sometimes." even though she has not spoken to me since I left. Even though she probably hates me now. Her hand found his. But I do not miss the loneliness. I do not miss feeling like I was wrong just for being myself. You are not wrong, Taeho said firmly. You are perfect. She laughed softly. You are biased. Yes, I am. One day, a ship flew over the canyon. It was low and slow, clearly searching. They hid inside the house and did not come out until darkness fell. Old Man Cho went to town the next week to get supplies and listen for news. He came back with a heavy face. They have not stopped looking, he said. The Selvani have offered a reward for information. Some colonists want to help you, but others want the money. Governor Yoon is trying to protect you, but the pressure is growing. What do the scientists say? Yerim asked. They say you are the most important pregnancy in galactic history. They say your child could change everything we understand about biology and reproduction. Old Man Cho shook his head. They do not care about you as a person, only as a mystery to solve. Commander Vela was still on the planet too. Her ship stayed in orbit, waiting. Every few days, she sent messages demanding Yerim's surrender. Every few days, Governor Yoon sent polite refusals, but everyone knew it could not last forever. The first major dust storm of the season came in the 7th month. Old Man Cho had predicted it from the color of the sky and the behavior of his cattle. They secured everything they could and sealed the house tight. The storm lasted 3 days. The wind screamed through the canyon like a living thing. Dust piled against the doors and covered the windows. They could not go outside. They could only wait. Yerim used the time to teach Taeho meditation. She showed him how to quiet his mind and find peace inside himself. It was difficult for him. He was a man of action, not stillness. But he tried, because she asked him to. Our child will need to learn both ways, she said. Human strength and Selvani calm. Earth's stubbornness and Selva's wisdom. And what will our child look like? Taeho wondered. I do not know. No one knows. That is part of what frightens my people. They fear what they cannot predict. When the storm ended, they went outside to dig out. The canyon was changed, new dunes forming where flat ground had been. Old Man Cho's garden was buried. Half his cattle had run away. They will come back, the old man said calmly. They always do. 3 of them did not come back. Taeho and Old Man Cho spent a week searching before they gave up. It was a hard loss, but life in the wastelands was full of hard losses. 2 weeks after the storm, Old Man Cho went to town again. He did not come back. Taeho waited 1 day, then 2. On the 3rd day, he knew something was wrong. They caught him, he said to Yerim. They are questioning him. He will not tell them where we are. No, but they will keep searching. And now we are alone. Yerim put her hand on her huge belly. The baby was due any week now. They could not run any more. They could barely survive here without Old Man Cho's help. We will manage, she said, but her voice was uncertain. That night, the first pains came. Yerim woke Taeho with a cry. Her face was twisted with pain, sweat forming on her blue skin. He jumped up, panic flooding through him. The baby? Yes. She grabbed his hand hard. It is coming, now. He looked outside. The sky was turning brown again. Another storm was coming, maybe bigger than the last one. The worst possible timing. We need to get to town, he said. To the medical center. There is no time. And they would take me. Take our child. She screamed as another wave of pain hit her. You have to do this. You have to deliver our baby. Taeho felt like he had never felt before. He knew nothing about delivering babies. He was a rancher, not a doctor. If something went wrong, Yerim could die. The baby could die. Everyone he loved could die. because of his ignorance, but there was no other choice. He found the medical kit they had brought from the colony. He boiled water on the small stove. He found clean cloths and prepared everything as best he could. Outside, the storm arrived. The wind began to howl. Dust filled the air until they could not see the canyon walls anymore. Inside, Yerem screamed and pushed, and Tejo held her hand and prayed to every god he had ever heard of. The baby was coming into the world. Ready or not, possible or not, the impossible was about to become real. Dr. Beek Su-min had worked as a doctor for 30 years. She had delivered babies on 3 different planets. She had treated diseases that had no names and wounds that should have killed. She thought she had seen everything. She was wrong. The scanner hummed as it moved over Yerem's body. The blue light passed across her pale skin, reading everything inside. Dr. Beek watched the screen, her eyes growing wider with each second. "Run it again," she said to her assistant. They ran it again. The results were the same. There was a baby growing inside Yerem. The genetic markers were clear. Half of the DNA came from Yerem. Half came from a human male. The baby was healthy. The baby was real. Dr. Beek sat down heavily in her chair. Her hands were shaking. "This is not possible," she whispered. Tejo stood next to Yerem, holding her hand. His scarred fingers wrapped around her blue ones. "And yet it is happening," he said. The news spread fast. On a small colony like Dust 7, secrets did not last long. By the next morning, everyone knew. The alien veterinarian was pregnant with a human baby. The quiet rancher who had lost his wife was the father. Some people were amazed. Some were afraid. Some said it was a trick, a lie, something that could not be true. Governor Yoon Jae-won called them to his office on the 3rd day. He was a thin man with tired eyes and a careful voice. His job was to keep the colony running smoothly. This situation was anything but smooth. "The Galactic Union has been informed," he said. "They are sending scientists. They want to study this pregnancy." "Study?" Yerem's voice was sharp. "I am not a laboratory animal. I understand your feelings," the governor said. "But you must understand mine. This has never happened before. In all the history of the galaxy, no Selvani has ever carried a child from another species. The scientific community is very interested." Tejo stepped forward. "She is a person, not a specimen. Our child is not an experiment." The governor held up his hands. "I am not your enemy, but there are forces larger than this colony, larger than any of us. The Selvani High Council has also been informed." Yerem went pale. Even her blue skin seemed to lose its color. "My people know? They sent a message this morning. They want you to return to Selvith immediately. They call this pregnancy an anomaly that must be examined and controlled." "Controlled?" Tejo felt anger rising in his chest. "What does that mean?" The governor looked away. "I do not know. But the Selvani are very protective of their genetic purity. They have strict laws about reproduction. This situation may be seen as a violation of those laws." Yerem's hand found Tejo's again. Her fingers were cold. "I will not go back," she said quietly. "I will not let them take my child." The next 2 weeks were difficult. Scientists arrived from the Union, polite but persistent. They wanted blood samples and genetic tests and permission to monitor everything. Yerem agreed to some tests, refused others. She was tired all the time. The pregnancy was hard on her body. Tejo barely left her side. He brought her food and held her when she cried. He read to her from old Earth books and told her stories about his family. He tried to make her smile. One evening, as they sat on his porch watching the sunset, he asked her a question. "Do you want to marry me?" Yerem turned to look at him. Her silver eyes reflected the orange light. "Marry? By human custom?" "Yes, I know it is not how your people do things, but I want you to know that I am serious. This is not just about the baby. I care about you. I want to spend my life with you." Tears ran down her blue cheeks. "The Selvani do not recognize human marriage. My people will say it means nothing. It will mean something to me." Teho touched her face gently. "And to you. And to our child. That is enough." She smiled through her tears. "Then yes, I will marry you, Can Teho." The wedding was small. They held it at the ranch, under the wide sky of Dust 7. Dr. Beak came, and a few colonists who had become friends. Old Man Cho came down from his place in the wastelands, a hermit who rarely showed his face in town. He brought a gift of dried meat and said nothing, but his presence was a blessing. The ceremony was simple. They spoke words of love and promise. They exchanged rings made from copper wire, the same wire Teho used to fix his fences. They kissed as the sun went down and the first stars appeared. For one night, they were happy. The Selvani ship arrived 3 days later that it came down from the sky like a silver blade, beautiful and cold. Commander Vela stepped out with 4 guards behind her. She was tall and elegant, her blue skin darker than Yaram's, her silver eyes hard as metal. "Yaram of House Myra," she said formally. "The High Council demands your return. You will come with us now." Teho stepped between them. "She is my wife. She goes nowhere without her consent." Commander Vela looked at him with disgust. "Your human ceremonies mean nothing under Selvani law. She belongs to her people." "I belong to no one," Yaram said. She walked forward to stand beside Teho. "I am not property. I am not a specimen. I am a woman carrying a child, and I have the right to decide my own fate." "The child is an anomaly," Commander Vela said. "It must be studied. You must be studied. This situation threatens everything we know about our species. My child is not an anomaly. My child is a miracle." The 2 Selvani women stared at each other. The air felt heavy with tension. "If you do not come willingly," Commander Vela said slowly, "we have authorization to take you by force." Governor Yoon stepped forward. He had come when he saw the ship landing. "This colony is under Galactic Union jurisdiction. You cannot use force against one of our residents without Union approval." Commander Vela's eyes narrowed. "The Union will side with us. This is a matter of Selvani internal law. Then get their approval first. Until then, Yaram stays here." It was a small victory. Commander Vela and her guards returned to their ship to wait for orders from above. But everyone knew it was only a matter of time. That night, Teho and Yaram made a decision. They packed what they could carry: food, water, medicine, blankets. Teho loaded everything onto his old ground vehicle, the one that could handle the rough terrain of the WSTELANDS. Dr. Beak came to see them off. Her eyes were wet. "The wastelands are dangerous," she said. "The dust storms, the wild animals, the cold at night. You could die out there. We could die here too," Teho said. "At least out there, we will be free." Yaram hugged the doctor. "Thank you for everything. If we survive, we will find a way to send word." "When you survive," Dr. Beak corrected her. "Not if, when." They drove into the darkness, leaving the lights of the colony behind. The stars stretched above them, millions of points of light in the black sky. Somewhere out there, empires rose and fell. Scientists studied impossible things. Laws were written and broken. But here, in the dust and the dark, there was only a man and a woman and a child. They would do anything to protect. They did not know what waited for them in the wastelands. They did not know if they would survive. They only knew one thing: they would face it together. The dust never stopped on this world. It came in waves across the brown plains, covering everything in a thin layer of red powder. Khan Tejo stood at the fence of his ranch and watched the sun set behind the distant mountains. The sky turned orange and purple, colors that still amazed him after 10 years on this planet. Dust 7 was not a beautiful world. It was harsh and dry and far from Earth, but it was home now. Tejo had built his life here, piece by piece, like his father had done before him. He was 34 years old, with strong hands and a quiet face. His dark hair had some gray in it now, more than a man his age should have. The gray had come 3 years ago, when the dust storm took his wife. She had gone out to save a lost calf and never came back. They found her body 2 days later, half buried in the red sand. Since then, Tejo worked alone. He woke before sunrise and went to sleep long after dark. The work kept him busy. The work kept him from thinking too much. His ranch had 200 cattle, all specially bred to survive on alien worlds. They were tough animals with thick skin and large lungs. They could breathe the thin air and drink the bitter water. Like the humans who raised them, they had learned to survive where survival was hard. The colony on Dust 7 had about 3,000 people. Most of them were ranchers or farmers. Some worked in the small town, running shops and services. It was a simple life, far from the busy cities of Earth or the grand stations of the Galactic Union. Tejo liked it that way. He did not want excitement. He wanted peace. But peace was hard to find when you were lonely. He saw Yarem for the first time at the supply depot in town. She was checking medicine for the livestock, reading labels with her silver eyes. Her skin was pale blue, the color of morning sky. Her hair was white and fell straight down her back. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible, like water flowing over stones. She was Selvani. Her people had joined the Galactic Union long before humans even left Earth. They were known for their beauty and their intelligence, and one other thing. One sad thing that everyone knew. The Selvani could not have children with other species. Scientists had proven it many times. Their biology was too different. No matter how much two people might care for each other, a Selvani and anyone else could never make a family together. Yarem had come to Dust 7 6 years ago to work as a veterinary specialist. She treated the cattle and the native animals. She was good at her job, patient and skilled. The colonists respected her work but kept their distance. She was alien. She was other. She would always be alone among them. Tejo nodded to her when their eyes met. She nodded back. That was all. Months passed. Tejo saw her around town sometimes. At the depot. At the medical center. Once at the small restaurant where he ate dinner on Sundays. She always sat alone, reading something on her tablet, eating slowly with her delicate hands. He thought about speaking to her. He never did. Then the explosion happened. It was a normal Tuesday when the depot caught fire. Someone had stored chemicals wrong, and they mixed and burst into flames. The blast shook buildings half a mile away. Tejo was loading supplies into his truck when the wall of fire erupted. He saw Yarem through the smoke. She was trapped behind fallen shelves, flames climbing toward her. Her silver eyes were wide with fear. Tejo did not think. He ran into the fire. The heat was terrible. It burned through his gloves and into his hands. He grabbed the shelves and pulled them away, his skin screaming with pain. Yarem reached for him, and he lifted her in his arms and carried her out. They both collapsed in the dirt outside. People ran toward them with water and medical kits. Tejo looked at his hands. They were red and blistered, the skin peeling away. He would carry scars from this day forever, but Yarem was alive. That was enough. They put them in the same room at the medical center. Tejo's hands were wrapped in white bandages. Yarem had burns on her arms and legs, but she would heal. Her people healed faster than humans. For 2 days, they said nothing to each other. They just lay in their beds and listened to the machines beep and hum. On the 3rd day, Yerem spoke. Why did you do that? She asked. Her voice was soft, like bells ringing far away. Tae-ho turned his head to look at her. Do what? Save me. You could have died. Your hands. She looked at his bandages. They will never be the same. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You needed help. I could help. That is all. That is all? She seemed confused. You risked your life for someone you do not know. Someone who is not even human. Tae-ho almost smiled. On this planet, we help each other. It does not matter what you look like. It matters what you do. Yerem stared at him for a long time. Something changed in her silver eyes. Something soft and warm. They began to talk. She told him about her homeworld, Selvith, with its crystal towers and purple forests. She told him about leaving to see the galaxy, about feeling like she never belonged anywhere. She told him about the loneliness of being the only Selvani on a human world. He told her about his wife, about the storm, about the empty house that he could not bear to change because her things were still there, about working until his body was too tired to feel the pain in his heart. They talked through the night and into the next day. They talked about everything and nothing. They talked like two people who had been waiting their whole lives to find someone who would listen. When Tae-ho's hands healed enough for him to leave, he did not want to go. When Yerem was released a week later, she came to his ranch to check on his cattle. She came back the next week. And the next, they walked together in the evenings, watching the dust blow across the plains. They sat on his porch and looked at the stars. They did not touch. They did not need to. Just being together was enough. 3 months after the fire, Yerem came to his door with a strange look on her face. Her silver eyes were full of tears. I need to tell you something, she said. Something impossible. She took his scarred hands in hers. I am pregnant, she whispered. The child is yours. Tae-ho felt the world stop. The Selvani could not have children with other species. Everyone knew this. Science had proven it. It was impossible. But Yerem was standing before him, trembling, with new life growing inside her. His child. Their child. Impossible had become real. And nothing would ever be the same again.